Yay.
Okay, then. Thanks
Okay.
for coming, and yeah, looks already interesting, so let's see.
Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah?
Yep.
Cool. Okay, you're going to have to bear with me a little bit. I feel a bit delicate this morning, not because of German beer. I actually didn't drink any German beer, so... cool. Yeah, so I'm Dan Jenkins. I'm going to talk about magic and wizards and gifts, because we all like gifts. So a quick introduction. I'm Dan_Jenkins on Twitter. I'm a Google developer expert. I don't get paid by Google or anything, so what I say is what I think. I founded my own company. I'm a web guy who happens to do RTC. I'm not a typical telecommunications person. And I guess that's why I like talking at these things, because web is very different to like normal telephony stuff. I'm a general geek, and I love Lego. But this slide deck doesn't have any Lego in it, unfortunately. I run my own business called Nimble Limited in the UK, who are still part of the EU. And we do a load of consulting around real-time communications and Node and web and things like that. But let's go on to like interesting stuff. So this talk isn't anything about Kamailio at all. You could kind of use Kamailio to do all these things in some form, but it's not a technical talk. It's just, I want to make you all see like another perspective, to get people thinking outside of their comfort zone and go, oh, this is different, and we can do different things, and we can make awesome things using newer technology and that we don't generally think about too much in a closed ecosystem that a lot of telephony is. So yeah, I want you to understand. I want you to shift your view. So on to the magic. I mean, was my title just an excuse to use this GIF? Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't get a more British person. But yeah, seriously. Magic isn't like it is in the movies. In the movies, it's like big and powerful, and it's like bold, and it blows stuff up. And you don't see like really small, subtle things in the movies with magic. It's about blowing people up. Magic is an illusion, and when you do it properly, it's really, really subtle, and it's really, really skillful. And any magician will tell you that it's an art. So what does that mean for us as developers in telecommunications, in the web, writing apps? We've all got consumers. We've all got customers. And really for us, a magical experience is giving your consumers something different, something that kind of takes them off their feet and puts them in a different zone. So an example of magic in the wild today. Does anyone know who this is, just out of curiosity? I've got one hand, okay. It's someone called, I can't remember his first name, Mr. Thornberry. It was a kids' TV program when I was younger in the UK, but Kathleen put up her hand, so I'm going to say that it was in the US too. But yeah, I saw that and it took me back to my childhood. Magic in the wild today. So I have a fault with my broadband, my phone, my TV, another provider. And the provider already monitors their infrastructure. They already know that I'm having an issue, whether or not I've lost power to my home, whether or not my phone isn't working or my broadband isn't working, or whether or not there's a leak outside from the water company. The providers generally do know all of this stuff, and they aren't just reliant on people telling them. So wouldn't it be really cool if when you call your provider to say, why is my broadband not working? You get through to the IVR, And before you get through to like having an option, it goes, oh, I already know this phone number because I'm a customer. I've already given them my details. And they go, oh, we already know about the fault, Mr. Jenkins. Would you like us to let you know when the issue has been fixed? It could be a callback, it could be like an SMS, or it could be an email, or whatever. I haven't had to speak to an agent. I haven't had to deal with anything, and it's just magic. This is like really, really small example of magic. It's where me as a consumer, I know that the company that I'm dealing with cares. They care about me as a customer. And so, wouldn't this be awesome? Smashing, actually. Wouldn't this be smashing? Well, yeah, it would. I mean, that would be pretty cool. I'd only spend like 10 seconds on a call to my broadband provider, and hey presto, I know that they know about the issue and they're going to sort it for me. And they're going to get back to me when it's fixed, and I don't have to constantly check or whatever. I mean, I told a little white lie. I said this was magic in the wild. Does it actually happen today? I mean, no. Not that I know of, in most cases. Some people do this.
We've done it.
Okay, great. So yeah, most providers don't do this. Most providers don't care. Most providers will just have a contact center with a fairly low-paid workforce in comparison to developers, etc. And they'll just go, yes, I can see you're having issues, Mr. Jenkins, and we expect it to be fixed in the next 4 to 6 hours. If it doesn't work by then, maybe give us a call back. Okay, I've got to take more time out of my day, call this call center again, tell them that I'm unhappy. Oh, they might then give me some money off. So yeah, it's really in their own interest to do all of this stuff. Everyone knows that a contact center is generally a cost center, whether or not, especially when it's purely support. So really, as a business, we want to remove reasons why people call into our support contact center. It costs us money. Each phone call costs us money. The person sitting there costs us money. The computer costs us money. The room to put everyone in costs us money. The headsets. How much a contact center headsets? So this all costs a ton of money. Wouldn't it be beneficial if I could actually reduce my support center workforce and do things in a much cleverer way? But really, being a provider isn't enough anymore. It used to be oh, well, I get my broadband or I get my phone through this company, and I've had my broadband and I've had my phone through this company for the past 10 years. The providers aren't the sole providers anymore, and customers move. So surely, as a business, I want to keep my customers. So yeah, do they do any of this? No. They kind of just stick their fingers in their ears, and they kind of just keep going on with how things are today, using technology that we have today that is about 5 or 6 or 7 years old. So yeah, we still think about technology and expectations in terms of yesteryear. We expect users to get in contact with us. We don't really, a lot of support type things aren't proactive. Customers go through IVR trees. Even if you have a speech to text IVR tree, what are you calling about today? Well, I'm calling about my issue with my broadband. All right, so we're gonna put you through to support. All right, and then support are gonna then put me through to another person in support because it actually took me through to the wrong person, whatever. So there's these IVR trees, and generally customers ask a question and we find an answer for them. Why can't we just kind of already know that they're going to ask the question because of a scenario, and do it for them? So yeah, we need to start thinking about today's and tomorrow's technology right now. So this expands further than SIP, PSTN, VoLTE, whatever, voice. Kind of goes beyond all of that. Chatbots and SMS and conversational APIs and things like that. We need to start thinking about this stuff today. And I mean, contact centers are going to be around for years and years and years to come. But there's no reason why we can't start doing things better. So yeah, very quick. I was going to say, like, let's take a look at available technologies that are available today in terms of what we can actually go and use to make things slightly better. So a company, let's say a phone company, they have a customer database. They have contact details for that customer. They know what the phone number is for that customer because we gave it to them. And so using a company's own data, we can actually start writing into like Asterisk or even Kamailio to go, well, oh, I'm going to go talk to this API to see if this customer that I already know about has an issue. Like, let's be proactive about this. And we can go and take a look at big data. Oh, that was worth a bigger laugh. Come on. Big data. So we're going to go take a look at big data. And that's better, Ule. And we're going to utilize our data that we already have. We already own this data. And we're going to go give them a magical experience. Magical experiences differ for every single customer with every single different kind of provider. And you as a provider have to figure out what these magical experiences are. Monitoring, so I write web stacks, and I know when a service goes down. So instead of like my customer going, oh, well, we noticed you had a bit of downtime on this date. Well, why don't I just kind of take a look at my monitoring data and be proactive and go and be honest with my with people using my service and go, we've got an outage right now, and we expect it to be out pretty soon. That's honesty. That's building a trust relationship. That's not then going to waste my time in a week's time with why did your service go down at X time, and I have to go take a look back, etc. Why don't we just have these automated processes that make everyone's lives easier? So yeah, we know when a service goes down. We know about all this stuff because we build resilience into our services today. We run Zabbix, we run Stackdriver, we run Grafana, like all of the other monitoring tools that we've already got out there. Kamailio can tell you when a server goes out of the pool of dispatches. Like, we've got this data. Let's do something with it. So yeah, utilize your data on infrastructure and give a magical experience. So that's kind of stuff that we've been able to do for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, forever. I mean, monitoring has got better, and APIs and databases have got better. And so all of this stuff is fairly trivial, to be perfectly honest. But we don't do it because it's time and money. And we go, oh, well, we'll just deal with whenever we have an issue, we'll just deal with it then. What's really new is artificial intelligence. And I mean, it's been around for a little bit, but it's only really just become kind of mainstream and usable by developers today. When I talk about artificial intelligence, I'm not talking about faces that come off in Westworld. I'm talking about talking to a computer, talking to a phone, and it being able to go figure out what I've said and do something based on that information. So there are big players in the artificial intelligence arena. Google, Amazon, they're the two kind of big ones. IBM have Watson, which has kind of taken a slight backseat recently. And then Oracle have their own stuff as well. I've never actually used the Oracle stuff because it's Oracle. So what have we got available to us today that I can start plugging into like Asterisk and browsers and apps and SMS, all of these communication channels that we've got freely available to us today. So we've got speech recognition from all. I'm not actually sure about Oracle, whether or not they've got speech recognition. They probably do. But IBM, Google, and AWS all have speech recognition tools. They all have natural language analysis tools as well. They're the two main ones that I really want to talk about. But image analysis, why can't I just take a picture on a phone and like send it to my support team or whatever? And like the image would get analyzed for me, and out the other end for the support engineer, like there's already kind of like a half answer already there. I don't know. Text translation. So taking speech recognition, taking that into text, then transforming that into a different language, and then like making it so that we can have multicultural language conversations over the phone with two people that can't actually talk to each other directly because they don't speak to one another. I don't know. But all of this stuff is possible. Machine learning, well, machine learning takes, like, to train up a model, et cetera, it takes a really, really long time and a lot of effort. But the gains for it are huge. And chatbots, Amazon and Google have both got chatbot API type things, conversation APIs out there that already do all of this kind of hard work for you. So 5 years ago, this was really, really, really expensive. Like, you had to pay license costs for your speech to text. You had to pay a load of hardware costs. If you wanted to do any kind of machine learning at all, it would be like a huge amount of hardware and a huge amount of expertise that then would cost you a ton of time and money. And doing anything kind of remotely kind of clever beyond here's a request, here's an answer from a database was difficult. But today we can get started with a couple, well, Nir was telling me earlier that he got this kind of working in his demo in 6 lines of code. I mean, from a scratch example, you're talking about a couple of hundred lines of code to get started in terms of taking your audio from a browser, for example, sending it up to Google then returning it back to you and going, yeah, here's the text, here's the streaming text. I'm then going to stream this into Google to find out, like, is my customer happy or sad? That kind of stuff. You can do this in a couple of hundred lines of code. I write Node, like there's packages out there. There's packages out there for Python. There's packages out there for Java. For all of these providers. So yeah, utilizing a cloud provider and their smart people and hardware. I mean, Google pays smart people a lot of money to make this stuff. Like, why not just go use it? And it's actually fairly cheap in the grand scheme of things when you compare it to what you would have paid, or even how much time it would have then taken you to do it yourself. And yeah, you can move quicker, and platforms are your friend. I think, so today we've been talking, I've been listening to all the talks today, and we've been talking about open source, and I love open source, don't get me wrong. Love open source. I write libraries, I open source them. I work I work with Asterisk. I work with Kamailio. I do all of this open source stuff. But it's okay not to use open source. It's okay to use a platform that makes things easier. Yeah, you're going to pay for it, but you're going to pay for it with open source software that you're then going to have to bring up on a server, and it's actually going to cost you a lot more money in the long run, because you then have to deal with everything. So not using open source software is okay. I added that in the last half an hour because there's nothing wrong with the talks that we had today, but they're all about using Kamailio, using open source, giving back to open source. And I think we sometimes forget that there's another world out there that can make our lives much, much easier. So Ule's kind of already answered this. Can anyone name me a current magical experience you've encountered? Simon.
Phoning my electricity company.
What do?
They look up the CLI to identify where you are and who you are, and tell you exactly what issues are occurring and when they're going to be resolved.
You get a nice little Raspberry Pi.
Thank you very much.
See, you should have put up your hands. So, a couple of examples of awesome magical journeys that actually like make my life easier. I keep going overdrawn with my bank, but I put money into my account, into my savings account, like every single month. At the beginning of the month, I put in money, and then by the end of the month, I'm going overdrawn, and I get charged fees or whatever. I mean, the bank already knows. I've got 2 accounts with that bank. I've got a savings account, and I've got a current account. Like, the bank knows that I've got savings. Why can't the bank just kind of do this thing for me? I mean, they make money out of these fees, but there are other ways of making money. Like, be that nice bank that automatically goes, oh, we see that you're about to go overdrawn. Do you want to move this money into, like, this money plus a bit into my current account? I'd be like, yeah, sure, thank you. Like, that's going to save me however much money in fees. It's going to save me however much money in time later, trying to figure out, like, how much money I need to move across, etc. But that has nothing to do with a phone call. Like, it's just an example of how we as companies, how us as users should be expecting things. Another awesome magical journey. So calling into a contact center, and I get asked what I want to talk about. What is the call about? The audio gets sent to Google's speech-to-text engine or AWS Lex, which is AWS's speech-to-text stuff. It all happens in real time. And Google's natural language analysis, or Lex, comes back to me and says, well, this is what the user wants. And based on the answers that come back to me, based on tags and whether or not I'm happy or sad or whatever, I'm going to formulate a reply, or Google's going to formulate a reply for me, and I'm going to send off that text to Google Speech API or AWS Poly to generate the audio for me. I haven't had to I haven't had to get Alison to record like, I'm sorry, you're unhappy, in a much nicer voice, Alison. But I haven't had to go off and like get all of these canned statements. Like there's a conversation here. Google have started recently talking about voice user interfaces because of the Home Assistant APIs that they've just been opening up. And it's true. So we've been designing graphical user interfaces for years. And we've kind of been designing voice user interfaces within telephony for years. But it's all been very kind of, well, at this point in time, I'm going to play this prompt. And at this point in time, I'm going to play this other prompt. And I mean, yeah, there are some clever things out there, and they cost a lot of money. Why can't we build these nice conversation APIs, these conversation voice user interfaces with our clients? So our users deserve magic, and we should be kind of giving them magic. We should be making our users feel like we're taking care of them, and we already know about their issue. They don't need to contact us. We'll contact them, and everything will be great. What can you as businesses and developers, et cetera, do for your consumers? So you might be thinking right now, well, this would be a really cool demo. Yeah? Well, I recently got a puppy. Look at him, he's cute. So there's no demo right now because he hasn't quite figured out that like I need some time to like write code. But there will be a demo tomorrow in Dangerous Demos that takes a lot of what I've just talked about, puts it all into the browser, and then if you were at Astracon and saw my Dangerous Demo at Astracon, I'm going to kind of tie what I did at Astracon back into text and speech recognition. So remember to give your users magic. Sorry, I had to use it again. Don't be a muggle. Thanks a lot.
Okay, a few questions around here before going to, oops, watch our phone. We don't have replacement.
Did everyone like the GIFs?
We have here the Randy.
Since we have a couple of minutes, yeah, Dan, we don't? Yeah, I'm the only one that hasn't. Interesting contrast, because I totally resonate, everybody does, with especially the early part, your ISP and all of that. And yeah, they do know, of course they know. In our situation in France, though, because it's been deregulated, is it regulated or deregulated? Regulated in the sense that there's competition forced. So every supermarket can sell you DSL or cable. So as a result, there's probably at least 10 ways that you can buy DSL anywhere in the country.
Right.
So when you call them, they do know you do have to talk to a person. They had a diagnostic thing on the web, which they stopped for some reason, which used to do a test and say, oh yeah, you're having trouble, which they already knew. But now you talk to an operator, and once you've been through this several times, it's really painful because almost always, this is my provider who leases the space at the DSLAM from France Télécom, who in France is called the historical operator, l'opérateur hysterical operator, who, by the way, you know, that's us. That's the citizens who pay the tax. So we own the infrastructure already, just as people in the States may. And as a result, the response after you've talked to them for 25 minutes about plugging it in, rebooting, and all of that is, well, you know, we really can't do anything. All we can do is report it to France Télécom. And I said, yeah, I know. 20 minutes ago, that's what I asked you to do. But the only thing you can do is just be nice to make sure that they don't, like, sweep it under the rug.
Right.
But that's the other side of having great coverage, you know, great speeds at almost nothing. It's very, very cheap, but then they have to argue amongst themselves, well, who's going to fix this thing? It's Microsoft saying it's Air France's fault or something like that.
Right.
So.
It's the same in the UK with all of our small ISPs that then use BT's lines. Where is the issue? Oh, it's with a BT line. You're going to have to get a BT engineer out. I mean, but it would be really cool if that provider that I pay money to would just kind of take care of this for me.
Yeah.
We've got the technology to do this now. Like, it's not difficult. It's a little bit time consuming, like, but it's going to pay off huge amounts in the end when you can reduce your support staff down. I mean, I don't like people losing jobs, but let's find a better use for their talents instead of just answering questions about, well, why is my broadband down? We know. Let's do something about it.
Right. Anyway, great.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dan. And